unconscionable. It's been terrible. You know, they've had to fight and scrape for every little bit of justice. So, but I noticed the Hillsborough group, Justice for Hillsborough, have come out and said, "Not now is not the time."
Yes. You know. Even although I think they're not getting the justice that they really want.
No, they haven't got it, and it still repeats all the time. And I think it really says a lot for the Hillsborough committee and the Hillsborough people, that their children and their relatives are scorned in chants from other fans, and they have been let down horribly. Horrible. Let down's not the word for it, but they've been betrayed by the justice system in this country. Yet they don't want to indulge in that. They want to say, no, we're above that. We want silence. And I think Klopp has tapped into that, because I noticed Sir Kenny had come out today with a similar statement, and I think, and I've got no reason to know this, but knowing Kenny Dalglish's close links with the Hillsborough families, he'd have said to them, "What are your views on this before I say anything? You know, what are your, you know?" And I think the Liverpool family and that we don't want this to escalate at all.
Yeah, well, this is what Jurgen Klopp had to say on anyone lecturing Liverpool fans on showing respect.
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do, but I don't think that our people need any kind of advice from me for showing respect. There are plenty of examples where our people showed exactly the right respect. One which surprised me, and I was really proud of that moment, was last year when we played Man United around a very sad situation around Cristiano Ronaldo's family.
Yeah, that's a good point that he makes, and to be perfectly honest with you, no surprise that I love Liverpool as a city, Ruffy, but over and above that, I also think, you know, without getting too political, they do have a number of cases, never mind the Hillsborough situation, of possibly looking and thinking that they were economically deprived as well from various governments. So I think there's a lot of anger and legitimacy in people protesting, which is not just a Liverpool bubble at the moment, Ruffy. It's something that I think is going to rear its ugly head at the weekend as well, and is constantly, you know, never mind people saying politics and sport and issues that happen in life don't and shouldn't be aired in football, but it does. It rears its head because people use football as a platform to get their opinion out there.
Yeah, we discussed it yesterday. My view on the minute's silence was I would rather have a minute's applaud, because if you've got 40, 50,000 people in a stadium, there's going to be some idiot or 10 idiots or whoever who are going to spoil it for everybody else, you know. So minute's applause for me is the best one to drown whoever there is, whatever idiot it is that tries to break it up, because it is going to happen somewhere, and once it happens, wherever it is, that's what everybody's going to pick on. Yeah,
on the wider scale, I think we always mention, and I think there's an argument for football fans to, you know, and I can see where you're talking about certain idiots, but there's an argument for people who want to make a legitimate protest to being asked to do something that they don't want to do, Hugh, and it's such a fine line. Just my own personal point of view, you know, and I'm not going to go down a royal family situation, but I think out of respect for a family that have lost their mother, is the way I look at things.
I'm the same. I mean, the way I look at it is, let's be candid, over the years there's been minutes silence for people that perhaps I knew and didn't respect, but I would always, the way I was brought up, is respect. Have a bit of silence. I mean, it's respect for the living and what they're going on, respect for the grief that people are experiencing, and I would always be personally somebody that would maintain silence.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, lots of people, you know, posting messages for us, and thank you to so many people watching in Thailand as well, Ruffy. Just as soon as Melbourne came out, I think Tommy Adams always watches us from Thailand. So there's such a huge support, and as I mentioned to Ruffy the other day, they are up your end, even in Ashton Lane. There are people saying they watch the show regularly every day. So we're appealing to, you know, all classes. You know, it doesn't matter, Ruffy. whatever race, creed, colour, they're all there in every country as well watching us.
Yeah, but that's what football's all about.
Yeah.
They're the kind of people that we want to involve, and we're involving them in things that they can't get first hand, so that's why it's so popular.
And a shout out to Dave in Airdrie, because he's a regular viewer of the show, always gives you a text or a wee message before you go on, Dave, and his dad's is the kit man at Bathgate, so I'll have to go out there and do one of my on the roads from there as well.
Yeah, which are enjoyable, Hugh. Graham Wardrope is listening in Vietnam. So there you are. That just shows you the power of this programme, Ruffy. It's getting bigger and bigger, and if you can work the app, there's hope for everybody, from Vietnam to Thailand to Australia, you name it. If Ruffy can work it, there's hope for us all. Anyway, we've got the competition. We'll announce the winner on tomorrow's show. Lots to talk about as far as Celtic, Rangers and Hearts in European football and other issues. Today I was out at Hampden to look at the Scotland squad that Steve Clarke announced, 25-man squad for the Nations League matches coming up, and this is how it looks. Craig Gordon, Liam Kelly, John McLaughlin, Grant Hanley, Jack Henry's in there, Aaron Hickey, Scott McKenna, Nathan Patterson, Ryan Porteous, Anthony Ralston, Greg Taylor, Kieran Tierney, Stuart Armstrong, Billy Gilmer, Ryan Jack, John McGinn's there, Callum McGregor, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay of Manchester United, David Turnbull, and the forwards Jay Adams, Jacob Brown, Ryan Christie, Lyndon Dykes and Ryan Fraser back in the fold. Is that a surprise to you?
It's a slight surprise to me, and from both sides, that Ryan Fraser, I thought Fraser, who's had a long injury, he's had long-standing injury problems. I think it's mostly hamstrings, like most pacey players, he seems to be vulnerable there. And I thought he was kind of drawing the line at London to say, listen, if I'm going to play, I can only play once a week, and and I want to play for Newcastle. I thought then that that Steve Clarke, having taken that on board, would say, well, the message is, once you hang up your boots, that's it, you're not coming back. But I think the needs must when the devil drives. I mean, is he good enough to get a place in a Scotland squad? Absolutely. Is he playing well at the moment? Yes, he's actually playing, which is a start.
Yeah.
And Steve Clarke, I think, has shown some maturity by saying, you know what, we'll just tamp this down, pick him again. He certainly could be of benefit to us, and that's an end of the matter.
Yeah, Ruffy, I actually thought he was never to be seen in a shirt again, because the inside word on it was you can't pick and choose.
Yeah.
It seems to be you can these days.
Yeah, it looks as if that is the case. I think they'll have to rectify it, because fans have got very, not short memories, but they remember things that they're fed, and some of the stuff they were fed was he wanted to play for his club. He didn't have enough time to play for his national side. That's the feedback that we got, and it seemed to be the case. So maybe the manager and him have to rectify that if he's going to be the main man in one of your teams. But from the footballing side, it's an end of the park we're not strong in. So as a manager, you've got to pick everybody that you think it's available. I just wonder whether the Scottish fans will forget all the sort of stuff that was going on.
Yeah, listen, I think there's more important things to worry about, which is quite simply how we're going to get past Ukraine again, because I thought they were technically better than us, Hugh, and now you're in a situation where he's facing these games with a short time with the squad. The funeral will be on Monday. There's little time to try and get them ready for the 21st for that game, and then over and above that, he's lost Andy Robertson. Obviously, he's got Kieran Tierney in there. You've got one really great player goes out and another great one comes in. But I wonder of the squad that he has there. There's no new blood. Where sometimes you unearth, oh, by the way, this guy's got a granny.
Yeah.
It's this similar squad that couldn't get past Ukraine before. Yeah,
and the other thing about it as well, we come into it where the Nations Cup was probably hold below the waterline with the results that we've had already, Peter, It's going to be extraordinarily difficult to turn that around, and there's a kind of phase, I think there'll be a kind of belief that, we're treading water in this group and there's no real momentum. And the other thing about it as well is when you look at the group, at one time we could exult in the way a lot of players were playing and they'd coming in vibrant. There's a lot of players in that squad who are not playing that well. Big names, they're not playing that well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players in that squad that are just not playing. I mean, I'm thinking that Ralston and Turnbull. I know Turnbull and Ralston both come on for Celtic, but they're not regular starters. Even Christie's not a regular starter at Bournemouth. The form of John McGinn, he's playing with a team that's struggling at the moment. There's always round about Kieran Tierney as, you know, I mean, there are questions about the whole squad, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Stephen McNamara says, as a Newcastle fan, Ryan Fraser has looked very good when he's played for us. I mean, Steve Clark's adamant that Ryan Fraser was always going to come back into the squad.
There's no real process with Ryan. I said, I think it was in March, when he missed the 2 friendly matches, we'd had a chat. Ryan wasn't playing for Newcastle at the time, and I said at the time, if he's fit and available and playing well for Newcastle, he's definitely one that we have to consider for selection. That's why he's in the squad this time, because he's fit, available and playing well for Newcastle.
Okay, fit, available and playing well. So basically I think our attitude must be that, you know, you can pick and choose your games, but we're such a country at the moment just desperately making sure we've got 25 half-decent players to try and do a job for us, and we're hoping that if anybody has to step in, they can step up to the plate. Although I did find the press conference funny today on one note alone, which was basically Ruffy, you know, talking about Billy Gilmore, and he said, he's just got no luck, Billy Gilmore, has he? You know, can't get a game for Chelsea, moves to Brighton, and then the manager who signs him moves to Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we all hope that he could get to a club and show the form that we all know he's got. We're sorting glimpses in a Scotland jersey, so he's like everybody else. He just needs to settle down and start getting games, you know. But in the Scotland side, I think we're back to where we were. You know, we were on a right high, weren't we, trying to qualify for the World Cup?
Yeah.
And everybody was pulling in the right. I think it's went flat again. I think the game's coming up. I don't get the same fever. I don't get we've got Ukraine coming up, we've got this.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to start winning games again to get people back on board.
It's funny you saying that, Ruffy. I don't think it's an apathy, Hugh. I think it's just that people have had this kind of almost a stuttering, you know, kick back to the start of the season, and it hasn't really gained any great momentum.
That's what I was thinking. The momentum's gone.
It's gone, isn't it?
It's gone, and it shows you just the value of, you know, that qualification for the World Cup. I mean, in financial terms, it's stratospheric, but in cultural terms, it's just, I mean, you can imagine now, you know, if Scotland to qualify for the World Cup and these nation games, how would we be buying into them to who's going to make the squad for the World Cup? You know, we'll have to get the
other thing that doesn't help you is the fact that Champions League is the be-all and end-all for everybody in Europe.
Well, if you've got a national side that's doing really well, that's fantastic, because you could be talking about Zoe, I have to buy her the strip before the World Cup, and, you know, blah, 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 and I would be doing the same with my granddaughters and grandson. But if that goes, all interest goes on to the Champions League. You only had to look at the Rangers and Celtic games last week and this week to see that the media will be consumed with that, supporters will be consumed, that Hearts supporters are consumed with the Europa Conference. And broader supporters have got a whole panoply of Liverpool, Ajax, etc., etc., etc. to watch this week.
Yeah.
So that fills the gap, and then I'm afraid Scotland can fall down the cracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you can give us your view on the Scotland squad that's been selected. Some people not too happy with some of the players that I don't think will feature, but they've mentioned it in the feed here. Thanks to so many of you who put your points across so eloquently and with decency in mind. That's something that we try and preach to everyone who joins us on the football show. It's a different genre now, it's a different platform, especially with fans who now consume digital content in their thousands, hundreds of thousands, and we're lucky enough that people are listening to our podcast and downloading the app and watching YouTube, but there's an element that obviously we continually apologise for, of people who just post things that are just beyond a joke, and we try and police it as best as we possibly can while still allowing everybody an opinion, Hugh. As long as you don't use abusive language, it's as simple as that. Hugh mentioned that there might be that little focus on Champions League, and I think from our point of view, we're certainly excited and enjoying it. Ruffy, here's the fixtures to look forward to if you're in control in your house over the next couple of days. It's Victoria Pilsen against Inter Milan. We won't be watching that one. Sporting Lisbon against Tottenham. Liverpool Ajax is a stonewall certainty for me, Hugh. Bayer Leverkusen Atletico Madrid, FC Porto Bruges, Bayern Munich Barcelona is a belter, if only for Lewandowski going back. Marseille against Eintracht Frankfurt. So there's your Tuesday feed of games, and then on the Wednesday, because obviously Rangers got their game moved, it's AC Milan against Dynamo Zagreb, Shakhtar Donetsk against Celtic, which our reporter Kerry Pollock is out in Warsaw to cover that game for us. We'll hear from Kerry on our social media channels tonight and tomorrow ahead of the game. So lots of good stuff as PLZ Soccer expands into the European football. Real Madrid, Leipzig, Rangers against Napoli, Chelsea against Red Bull Salzburg, Copenhagen against Seville. It's Man City against Borussia Dortmund. I wonder who'll be watching that one. Juventus against Benfica. And last but by no means least, Maccabi Haifa against Paris Saint-Germain. So there's some belter games here, really looking forward to it. Of course, Rangers, there's no Napoli fans there, and if some have bought, flights and things like that, then it's a long process to get your money back. I think it's a real pain, and for Rangers fans, Ruffy, as we talked about yesterday, now that they know, they might have booked. We had to book our reporters onto that last week, and in fact, a couple of weeks ago. So Rangers fans will be out of pocket.
No, fans get in early. The earlier you get in, the cheaper you get. You know, and as soon I would bet as soon as the draw was made that day.
Absolutely,
there's
guys,
people phoning up and going, here, I'm on that flight before it comes 200, before it comes 400.
Absolutely.
So I still think there'll be fans who'll travel. They'll see it just as a wee trip, and they're out there in the country where the game's getting played, and that might just make it a wee bit easier than sitting in the house. So no, I do think that the fans will travel.
Yeah, well, this one's at home. This is a chance for Rangers to bounce back. As for the fans who'll be in the ground, they won't be treated to the Champions League anthem as a mark of respect to the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, and the UEFA Champions League branding in the centre circle, the banners, all of that is going to be missing from UK games. It's a strange one, isn't it?
I think so. I think football's been. I tell you, it was really strange. I mean, when you think about it in Saturday, when all of us in Scotland who are interested in football, whether it's going to Bathgate Juniors or going to Celtic or Rangers or Thistle or whatever, completely barren weekend. And you're clicking on and you're seeing, well, there's the rugby, so on a full calendar of rugby. There's a rugby league on. There's the polo.
Well, Ruffy and I.
Polo at the Cotswolds.
Ruffy and I were in the Cotswolds. The polo was great, wasn't it, Ruffy?
Oh, yeah.
We got
a chucker. Did you have a chucker at the polo? And you're going to yourself, what is the reasoning behind this? I mean, it makes, then it just creates stuff for the conspiracy. Were they doing it because they thought there was some reaction at football grounds, or were they doing it because they felt they had not enough policing, they had to get... You don't know, but
I think there's two elements to it. There's a stronger element to suggest that maybe there would not be enough police in certain areas. That's the first thing. Secondary to that, if there was in any way, a driving force behind the suggestion that the silence would be tarnished by some elements who wanted to protest in some way, then that's another aspect of this argument, Hugh.
Well, see,
is it legitimate?
I don't think so. I thought it was totally illegitimate. I think it was a poor decision. I think, you see on Twitter, people said, well, it's good that football stops so that fans can have a period of reflection. Well, A, a lot of fans don't want to have a period of reflection. B, there was no period of reflection. Everything else was on. Yeah. You could go to the shops, you could go to the dancing, you could sing karaoke, you could go to a jumbo sale, you could go to the rugby. But you couldn't go to the football. Yeah. Now, the police thing's quite an interesting one, but nobody has clarified that. But imagine they just said, right, okay, it is a policing issue. And for example, we've got a lot of police have to be in Aberdeen, and I understand this, a lot of police making the arrangements for the cortege to come down to Edinburgh. Yeah. I can understand all that. Say, well, we're going to do the pro leagues, and then the juniors are on.
Yeah.
You know, some like, you know, the Lowland League and the West of Scotland League and the Highland League, they can continue, so at least you can go to a game this week. I just think it was over the top.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you below the elite level, Hugh. I think below that, certainly kids football, lots of things that were cancelled I thought was an overreaction to it all. But I'm amazed though, Ruffy, because it's a while since anybody has put in, the things that were on a jumbo sale, because I can't remember, I can't remember the last time I was at a jumbo sale.
That's where I got this top.
It took me. I don't know if Hugh had one, but it took me back to the Ragman.
Oh,
Yes.
aye, coming out the
The
street.
Ragman come up in his wee cart
and get a balloon.
and you get a balloon and things like that.
Before your time, Peter.
No, it wasn't.
Simpler times.
No, I was going to say to you, it wasn't. It was at the tail end. Obviously, I was a young kid at the time, but I just thought that the exchange of 400 bits of clothing for a balloon was not really a fair.
In their case, it wasn't fair for the guy who was giving the balloon.
So for the benefit of anyone who's not of a certain age, there was a guy who used to come around and collect clothing that you weren't wearing, and he'd give you a whistle or some toy or a balloon. Brilliant. So that's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, apart from anything else, I never thought we'd hear jumbo sale in it, but with regards to Rangers on the night, I think, okay, there's a little bit of it, the sparkle of the no Champions League team, which I have great sympathy for the fans who want to go there on match day 2. The other part of it, which I wonder what your thoughts are on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's comments after the Ajax game, Hugh, because, we've been discussing it and looking at. Everybody knows Celtic and Rangers are in top 4. We know they don't have the financial clout, and we're certainly not going to make an excuse, because I've got Hearts and Hibs mates of mine who are giving me pelters, giving it. Don't start talking about financial, disparities here.
The whole of football is running financial disparity, because if Hearts, for example, if Robin Nielsen came out and said, we don't have any money, imagine the guy at FC Edinburgh or the guy at whatever.
Yeah.
They would say, we don't have. I mean, people like Kelty, for example. Kelty, there was envy of Kelty because it was seen that they had money. So the whole thing is disparity. Yeah. It's all running disparity.
But the thought
it's capitalism. But I thought he was daft, and I really like Joe. I really like him. I think he's a good man. I think he's a good manager. I think he's a decent. Honourable person, and I think he's an intelligent guy. But I just think somehow he just lost the plot with that. Because what he was saying was true.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's a time and place for saying that, and saying it then was interpreted like, oh well, we might as well not turn up then.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the interpretation.
Yeah.
And that just see the time as well. We're going back to this, what we did in the Facebook before it. When you're in a time of crisis, and by the way, it's Celtic, Rangers, Liverpool, whatever, two defeats brings it all. People are looking at everything and they're going, wait a minute, he's thrown the towel. I don't think he has thrown the towel. He was just making a point of five, but he just shouldn't have been saying it.
I thought Jim Goodwin's interview was good. Saying that, get a life, we're competing with, you're competing with year in, year out at Aberdeen. And your statement of, we need hundreds of millions. You didn't need 100 millions to beat Leipzig and beat Dortmund.
No, the most pertinent.
It was just a get out, sort of a throwaway line.
The most pertinent point, I think, about this whole situation, when you're looking at the results, if you're winning, Ruffy, it covers the cracks everywhere.
You won.
You can get away with anything, and when Rangers were heading towards the Europa League final, and they were stopping Celtic winning 10 in a row. Ross Wilson's recruitment was looked upon as just absolutely magnificent. He was a genius. Now, all of a sudden, and we're guilty of ourselves, we're looking at the players that he signed and helped Giovanni bring in this summer, and a lot of Rangers fans that I speak to are saying, not happy with it. Not happy with the recruitment. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, but I'm happy with the recruitment until Celtic won 4-0 and Ajax beat them 4-0.
I don't think so.
I don't remember there was an overriding, God, what's happening to us?
No, I do, because
until that happened.
No, but I do, Ruffy. I think I've just. I'll give you an example of it, Hugh. A lot of friends of mine who don't just have a season ticket, who pay a lot of money to get into the boxes, are not happy with the communication, certain standards in the background. So this is not a new thing. This was rumbling. Today, Dave King is quoted from the last 24 hours of talking about transparency, what's happening with the money, where is the ambition to give Giovanni Van Bronckhorst some money from the qualification for the group stages. So there's a background of rumblings of lots of things, and especially one of them is communication.
Yeah, and the thing about it was coming to head ever so gradually, and then the night of the transfer window was the first time I really sensed it, because Rangers didn't sign anybody on the last day of the transfer window. Now, that can be fine, a lot of clubs didn't sign anybody, but when you're in a position where the fans are looking at you selling, two assets, in Patterson and Bassey for decent sums, you're looking at a run to a European final and then qualifications for the Champions League. I think there was the expectation, Peter, that one big name would come in. And if you talk in a football sense, there's every scope for players to come in. I think there's no backup at right back. There's no out-and-out right winger. I think they certainly need another striker.
Yeah.
Do they need another number 10? So there wasn't as if they were filled in every position or even backed up in every position. But the thing is, the rumbling discontent about lack of communication from the board about the sort of gulf between the board and the supporters. That's been rumbling for some time.
Yeah, I don't think they've got enough strength and depth, certainly on the bench. There's a real rumbling about Alan McGregor turning up as the number one again, although John McLaughlin was absent from the training this morning. James Tavernier spotted training, so it looks as if he could be in with a shout to start. I think it's vital that James Tavernier is in there, because I don't see too many options to come in these places. Yeah. So, Ruffy, I don't know about you. Listen, I'm calling it as I'm seeing it from match day 1 to match day 2. I think we could be looking at another 3 defeats for all 3 of them. I don't see Rangers beating Napoli. I don't even see them getting a draw.
Well, I have said a draw yesterday.
You changed your mind?
No. I'm not going to be frightened by that Liverpool score, because every team has a fantastic night, and they had a fantastic night that night. They're now away from home. It's just my opinion. I tend to think that these teams going away from home at any stage in the game are happy to draw. They're just happy to take a point, because they know they're going to win their 3 home games, and that'll be them qualified. So if Rangers were to get a goal and they were to get one, I would think they would try and see the game out at a draw. I don't think they'll go for the jugular. I might be completely wrong, but I think Rangers and Celtic have got something in them at home, with their home fans behind them, and if you get a wee bit of a hint at there might be something out of this, they get right behind the side. So I'm confident in a 1 each draw.
Well, here's the joy of this programme, where you and I have been together 10 years with Hugh, may I add, all 3 of us, and I don't think I'm going to continue the vein of when we started 10 years ago, Hugh, which is I don't agree with Ruffy, because I think football at levels, I think this is too much of a level at times for Celtic and Rangers, and almost certainly Hearts at their level. But in the Champions League, I think they're getting a real harsh lesson. And Napoli, for me, I mean, if Rangers get somebody tomorrow, Ruffy, I'm going to take you out for I'm going to take you out for a meal. I'm taking you out for a meal, Ruffy, honestly, because it's just I can't see it.
I could have, if you looked at the big Europa League nights at Ibrox last year, it would give them some hope.
On Wednesday, Hugh.
On Wednesday, it would give them some hope. I think, though, that the questions around Rangers, they've got a question about the goalkeeper. They've got a question at right back, because, how fit is the captain? I don't think the central defence has been poor in the last couple of games. There's been no real creativity, and up front you've still got the Morelos factor. Morelos was central is central to Rangers playing well in Europe, because you can give him the ball, he hangs up and he gets the team up the park. Is he fit to play? So I think there's so many questions about Rangers, and watching the Napoli performance against Liverpool, a Liverpool team which, to be fair, in a bit of disarray itself at the moment, you would look at, that's going to be a difficult night. I don't rule it out a draw, Ruffy, either, but I think it's going to be, I think Napoli will win. I think Napoli will win.
Napoli will win.
Yep.
Yeah, because you know we're like Hugh. We don't deal in probabilities.
No, I mean, if you're asking me for a prediction, it's a Napoli win.
And I'm going to tell you this. We're going to try and read out as many messages as possible. But Stevie Boyle says Celtic are comfortably on Shakhtar's level. Well, if that's the case, it's going to be interesting. It is in Warsaw. Shakhtar, for me, come up with a really big result against Leipzig. I did not see that coming, Ruffy.
No, and I don't think anybody else saw it coming as well, and it puts them on the front foot because it means Celtic have got to match that. You know, we're playing them next because obviously if they beat Celtic, they're going to go further ahead, you know, and that'll be a confidence booster. So it's an important game. And as you said there, I think the second games, when we look at all the results of all the matches, we'll have a better chance of, was that just a one-off or no, they are a good side. You know, so it's a big night. I mean, I know we're only into the second game of this, but the second game could be the blowout for both of them.
Exactly. I mean, the Shakhtar thing's interesting as well because, you know, Leipzig, you know, they sacked the manager Tedesco in the wake of that. There's obviously things in that team that weren't, you know, weren't right. It wasn't the happiest of camps. So did that qualify? But I only saw the highlights of that match, and Shakhtar, you know, looked like a Shakhtar side that we always know, you know, technically good players. That'll be a test for Celtic. I think Celtic fans, having watched at least the first hour at Celtic Park last week, will go into it with some kind of confidence that the team will put up a show. I think Postecoglou has given the answer to everybody who thought, you know, he might play in a different way in Europe. He said he wouldn't, and it's proved that he wouldn't. He's going to continue the same formation, the same way of playing. So it should certainly be an entertaining match, that's for sure.
Yeah, and of course, previous Shakhtar Donetsk teams that have witnessed Ruffy have had, you know, they've been Brazilians in there, Portuguese, you name it, they've been able to because they've had millions, but they're starting to develop players from their own academy as well now. So, you know, they're unbeaten since the start of the season, joint top of the league. It's early days like it is with Celtic and Rangers. But this is the real big test. I mean, Paul Lambert, we caught up with him at the weekend as well, and he was saying it's such a dangerous game, Ruffy, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is. It's we Celtic have no points already, you know, and we've already seen how good Ajax are, you know, and then we're really going to up front. We're going to see how good this team are, you know, and Celtic got an idea as well because I think we all agree that Real Madrid's going to be the team that's going to win this. So, what are you scrapping for? Are you scrapping for second? Or are you scrapping for third? You know, and I think after the game midweek, we'll know where Celtic are scrapping for, depending on the result.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a strange one because I think sometimes people just look at this Ukrainian side and think the country is in a terrible war. There are lots of people who have been psychologically affected. Well, obviously we're talking about people who have lost their lives, but over and above that you have a situation where people are thinking, sport, does it take, does it give them the chance to look at something and take their mind off it? Can people who play sport sustain any kind of level? But clearly when you look at Shakhtar Donetsk, they're flying the flag with pride.
Yeah, I think it's an individual one, you know, different personalities and you know, when you watch the Ukraine players against Scotland and Zinchenko and others, you know, giving their views about it's a situation hopefully we'll never ever be involved in, but it's very difficult to know just how much it impacts if your own country is undergoing that, because no matter who you are and how successful you are and you've got your own family out of the country, there'll still be people that you know and love and it's your country. So you don't know, you know, how it will affect you psychologically. All you can judge is performances on the park. All you can do is say, you know, with any certainty say that, and if you watch them playing on the park, they at least have managed to put it in a compartment at the very least and try to get on with their professional lives.
Yeah. Okay, Ruffy, it's an interesting one. This could potentially be the 11 that Ange Postecoglou plays. Whether this turns out to be the 11 that are able to get something from it, Hart, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Jens, Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate, Abada, Jota and Giacomakis. It's got that familiar look about it, although I noticed that Kyogo, obviously he's one of those guys, he's picking up awards right, left and centre. I still think he's got a bit to do to get back to the heady heights of when he started with Celtic, but they've got options all over the park.
Yeah, they have got options all over the park, and I think we all go back to the Real Madrid game, as you said, for an hour I thought it was great. But then that defensive, that frailty crept in.
What frailty?
I think
Ruffy, they've had the best defensive record at the tail end of last season.
No, but this is a test, against better sides.
Yeah.
Are your full back's going to be bombing forward all the time? Because any of the teams that I see that have full backs who bomb forward all the time are now getting caught out by better teams. Liverpool get caught out because their two full backs are bombing. Rangers are getting caught out because Tavernier and his other mate on the other side. And people are finding ways to keep possession, play the ball, and if you've got quality players, just dink a ball in the back and you're getting fun out.
Well, Hugh, the difficulty in that argument is quite simply, domestically, Celtic's backline can get away with it and they've got a good record. At the tail end of last season, best defensive record. This season, again, miserly with giving away goals. But the truth is, Real Madrid did this to Liverpool, did this to Chelsea, Man City, Paris Saint-Germain. They can pick anybody off. I've been in this movie watching Real Madrid before. They can sit and take a hostile crowd, a barrage of attacks, and then they can wait for 60 minutes and they'll say, we're still playing, we'll still play because we've got world-class players who can go, bang, there's our moment, we'll score because you couldn't.
Absolutely, and they take everything, every little scrap that's thrown to them, they'll take. I mean, the scrap that was thrown for the breakthrough goal is Hazard doesn't control the ball well. It comes up and bounces off him, but it goes out to a player that can kill the ball instantly. The boy that can kill the ball instantly powers to the byline because he's got pace. He's then got at pace the technique and the ability to miss the guy in the middle and pick a guy out 35 yards on the other side of the goal.
Vinicius Junior.
Who just plunks it into the net. I mean, the level, one of the joys, and it was a joy of watching that game live, was to sit and see Modric in particular, but Kroos as well. But to watch Modric and say, do you know what, Modric could be on a Tuesday collecting his pension and then head into the Bernabeu for a game at night. And I'm not talking about an over 55s game. I'm talking, he's just, everything he did, Ruffy, was just perfect.
I mean, Steve Clark was purring about him today, Ruffy.
We saw it in the Scotland game.
That's what he was saying,
He won the game single-handedly, and good players do that. They come and they win games single-handedly. Other people might score goals, but they're the ones that make it. The point I'm making is, if Celtic go away to Shakhtar and they come back without losing a goal, I'll be more than happy.
Yeah.
They haven't proved to me away from home yet at this level that they're good enough to do that. And if they do that, then I think it's a step forward.
Well, I think they're going to lose. I can't see them getting anything from the game. That's just my thoughts on it. I could be wrong. Bob White makes a good point. Peter, Celtic had the worst defensive record in Europe last season. 19 goals conceded in 8 games. Bob's right, because I'm talking about levels. Yeah. You can do it domestically, but in European football, I mean, they were knocked out of 3 European competitions last season. This season, it's a step up again. Real Madrid in that final 30 minutes were a joy to watch. I mean, it was great to say, I'm in this press box watching Modric. It was a joy.
I mean, just, I got the feeling like I was sitting watching it and he was that good, and I've seen him so many times, Peter. I've seen him so many times. But because of the atmosphere, the noise, and he was in what they would call the Lion's Den, and the way he just, I just thought, he's now ranking. I was just thinking down the years of great performances I've seen live. I saw Rivera at Parkhead in 1968-69 season. I thought I'd never see a better midfield player than that. Modric's display that night ranked in that. And see another thing, Modric would walk off and we think that's just another day at the office.
Yeah.
I mean, Modric's not going to say this is my greatest moment or anything like that.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, I'm looking at it now and I'm saying, if I read out the comment after it from Joseph McGonigal, who says Valverde's goal at the weekend for Real Madrid, Ruffy, against Mallorca was just outrageous. I mean, he runs into the box with his left foot, curls it into the roof of the net.
Is that the Colombian boy?
Valverde.
The Colombian boy.
South America.
I thought he was nearly as good as Modric that night. I thought he caused more damage in that wide area than Modric did in the middle.
I think he's from Uruguay.
I thought it was Colombia.
Yeah, South America, Ruffy. It's a minor technicality, you know. Quake,
but no,
top.
I thought he was a good player.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Absolutely. And strangely enough, you know, you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, domestically, everybody thinks Celtic look unstoppable. Rangers are going through a little rough patch after the Old Firm defeat. Paul Lambert was talking about it the weekend. They're saying he can't see anybody stopping Celtic domestically.
If they keep that form and what I've seen against Madrid for that hour or so, can I see anybody stopping them? The closest rivals will be Rangers, but they seem to be a little bit itchy at the minute with it and don't know what way they're going to swing. But Celtic in this minute seem really fluid the way they're playing, the way everybody looks as if they're a good spirit.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to go Shakhtar Donetsk 2, Celtic 1.
Yeah, no, that's it. And the interesting thing about me, I think, Celtic will play the same way. I'm just wondering about the lineup. I think Abada might be vulnerable to being dropped, and I think what I've seen, he's only had 2 cameos so far, but I think Haksabanovic is going to be a really big player for Celtic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to be
sticking
in with a draw, and hopefully they can defend properly. It's that Real Betis game that's really bugging me. I mean, winning 2-0 and then losing goals, and then just before half time.
But that was the early days of his tenure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking for an improvement. I'm looking for something of an improvement because we all know how exciting they are to watch.
Okay, I've got the fear for Hearts. I think Riga is equally as difficult for them, he's got injury worries all over the place. Robbie Nielsen, he must be sitting there with his backroom staff and looking at Stevie Naismith and Lee McCulloch thinking, really, is this the team we're going to have to put out?
Yeah, and he's missed big players as well.
Yeah,
Halkett and Boyce are 2 at either end of the park, big players, and he's also learning. It will not be any surprise to him, but he's also learning in practice the difficulty of playing 2 games in the 1 week. And I know people will be shouting at telly, "Oh, they should be able to play every day." Yeah, professional footballers could play 12 hours a day, but it's the level of performance that goes down. It's not a matter of effort, it's just the level of performance goes down with that. Any sports scientist will tell you that. I think it's really difficult for him at the moment. I think as well there's a real lack of confidence. I think that was at the result in the conference was a real kick in the teeth to them. Home domestic form's not been spectacular either. So
it's 1 win in 7, Hugh.
I know it's difficult days.
I just think it was a shock to them, the level of football you have to play when you get into Europe. Doesn't matter what competition you're in. The level's better than our league. You know, you might be a star in our league and winning most of your games as Hearts were doing, but then all of a sudden they go into Europe. They haven't been in Europe for a long time. They've not competed against top European sides, and it's just a wee eye opener. It's an eye opener that they've got 3 players. You know, in the opposition, have got maybe 3 or 4 players that our Premier League teams don't have, and these 3 or 4 players on their game will go kill you.
And the pressing and the quickness. I mean, Hearts were losing the ball with a weary regularity on the edge of the 18-yard box, and it wasn't just one. It was, Herring, Halliday. They were all losing the ball there because they were taking that extra half a second and they weren't getting away with it.
Yeah, well, they're unbeaten in 10. And of course they drew with Fiorentina, so no mean feat for them. I have a fear that Hearts are going to lose. I'm a killjoy this week, honestly. I'm not. I don't know what it is, Ruffy. I've had one of those weeks where I think I can see all 3 of them losing again. I hope I'm wrong.
No, I hope I'm wrong as well. I can't see them winning this one. I think Craig Gordon will do his best to keep it down to 2.
Okay, at the Rangers press conference, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has confirmed that McLaughlin has picked up an injury, so it looks as if Alan McGregor will come back in.
Yep. Well, I mean, there won't be a mass gnashing of teeth at that. A lot of supporters would have wanted that to happen without injury. I think it's again difficult for Rangers because it means that McGregor's full of experience, has been a stalwart in Europe for them for many campaigns throughout the years, but it's another it's another change to the mix. I'd be interested to know what the Tavernier situation, if he'll play tomorrow. Interested to know, is Morelos, where is he at?
We've seen photographs of him training elsewhere,
Yeah, but who's putting that? I mean, he's really...
I was going to put one up of myself on Twitter tomorrow.
Playing tennis.
Admittedly, the photograph was from 10 years ago, but...
Yeah, you can see that, at least the people, Morelos and the people around him now know it is an issue, and it's one that's got to be addressed. So there's very many question marks, as I alluded to before, in defence for Rangers. There's now one question that's been solved, that they're going with McGregor. So
yeah, Norman Heaney says Ruffy must have a dislike of Celtic. Sour grapes, methinks. Yeah, Ruffy.
Ruffy,
what are you all about?
I've went one each.
Yeah.
You're the one that's given them a result.
No, exactly. That's what I was wondering there. He's got it in the neck. Anyway, I can't see Hearts. I can see Hearts losing by a couple again.
Yeah. Hearts, I don't
2-0.
2-0. Okay. Now, don't forget the competition. Great chance for you to win Wim Janssen's book. The other thing is, if you hit the subscribe button, there's lots more coming up. We've got some documentaries on the way. There's lots more competitions. PLZ Soccer's 24/7. You can download the app and you'll get all the breaking football stories, and you can watch the programme live on your phone. You could actually download the podcast from there. It's got everything you need in the app, and it covers Scottish football. We look at the English Premier League, we look at Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference, and our reporter Kerry is on her way to Poland as we speak. We'll get the thoughts of Ange Postecoglou, some of the players, and she'll be bringing us reports tomorrow ahead of that game in Poland, Celtic taking on Shakhtar Donetsk. So we are covering football, and it's getting bigger and bigger, so do indeed download it if you can. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has actually mentioned in the last few minutes that Alfredo Morelos is in a good place mentally and physically. He's training really well, and I've had a good conversation with him. He's in a far better place, and it makes it difficult for me to decide on my starting team. So that's an interesting one there, because that suggests to me that he's knuckling down.
That suggests to me that he's got a decision to make. I mean, he's actually saying it. I can't name my starting team. So that is good news for Rangers and Rangers supporters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he needs to step up, because I think, there was a fine line between a £40 million kitty and him really being the, centre of Rangers fans' anger, and of course the club itself.
Yeah, I have to think it must have been a big meeting when they did meet, because he really went off the rails. He wasn't in the team, he wasn't, putting in a shift like all the other players, and that's a massive problem when you've got big players in a dressing room and you've got one guy walking about doing his own thing. So I think it's been quite a fierce interview that the two of them had, and he's been told in no uncertain terms, you need to buckle down. Yeah,
well, let's hope he gets himself back to that level that a lot of Rangers fans certainly enjoyed in that final third, his contribution, because he's a dangerous player. He's different from Cholak. I think he offers something different.
Well, the thing about him is it's a very simple, straightforward thing. He gets you up the park.
Yeah.
It gives you an out ball, and see if you're in Champions League when teams are pressing you, really good players are harrying you, and you say to yourself, just hit it along towards him, and Alfredo might buy a foul.
Yeah.
He'll keep the ball up. It is. I mean, football sometimes can be a very simple game that way. You can talk about just looking for an out ball and saying that he'll win it, and he's been really. I mean, there's certain displays which he's been outstanding just in that, not even the goals which he can do, but just bringing the team up the park.
I think if you ask any centre-half he's played against, we all know he can score goals and he can score top goals, but he's a nuisance.
No.
If you're a centre-half, you don't want to be playing against a centre-forward like that who's going to maybe give a wee lunch here or come in late or whatever. So, I think he'd be a massive asset if they could get him back to where he was.
Yep, okay. Couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, lads. One of them is Gus McPherson is back in the game, which I'm delighted, because Gus has been on the programme, a lot of time for him. I often worry about him. I was roaming about Glasgow one Saturday. There was no football on, and I spotted Gus out enjoying himself, and the smile on his face. He was out there with his partner, and it was a scene of happiness that I thought to myself, Gus, you need to get back working and get a bit of stress in your life.
I get back to the old work ethic, and get that. I'm pleased he's back. He'll do a good job. He's got an immense experience in football. He's worked with in senior roles at St Mirren and Queen's Park as well, apart from his playing career. So I wish him well. Yeah,
he's in as head of football operations. I like that kind of title, Ruffy. If I was picking my perfect job, I don't know if you'd like this. I'd like a thing like a UEFA advisor to Scotland, which basically allows you to go to maybe Nice or Geneva and Neon as well, and you just basically go into a corridor and you walk down it, and then you go to the canteen, you take a few leaflets, and then you just saunter about, never to be seen again. I like that type of job.
Would you have a badge?
I'd have the Champions League badge, and I'd have one of those, what do you call them? The UEFA badge.
The
lanyards. And then that's just walk about.
Zadok the priest is your phone ring.
That's exactly. And there was a wee European Cup that I've spotted on the UEFA website. I've got it. And then you just walk about everywhere. That's the job, Ruffy. And Gus... I'm not saying that's the job. He's going to have to put a bit of work in, because I've tipped St Johnstone to get down.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you need to do is email and tell him to get Callum Davison out of that room that he does the interviews in. That's the first thing you have to say. I think he is. Yeah, but no, when you see somebody like Gus who's been in the game a long time, it just shows you that he must have done a lot of good things that people have remembered for him to get these jobs, for somebody to identify he's the one I want. So anywhere he's went, he's obviously done a very good job. It might not have worked out for whatever reason, but to get a call so late on that somebody respects what he's done is fantastic.
Well, he's in the middle of a hornet's nest at the moment, because St Johnstone are not happy. The game's been moved with Hibs to 7:30. Just as a footnote on that, Hugh, there's all sorts of time changes. Aberdeen and Dundee United as well. They're looking for areas where they can maybe maximise fans coming out. Hibs, I think, are doing a good thing with this game against St Johnstone.
I agree.
It's a tenner for the fans, £5 concessions.
Yeah, and I think shuffling it about, new thinking coming in. We've talked about it many times. Just because things have been one way doesn't mean they have to be always that way. You can have a bit of new thinking about how we schedule games, how we price games, how we stage games. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I thought you would be a traditionalist at 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
No, I think those days have gone, Peter. I think what we've got to do now is to say to people, is to accommodate what people want, what suits people, what is the best for the fans, in terms of pricing, staging, kick-offs. I think I've always said this. I think if I was branding Scottish football for a variety of reasons, I would try to make it a Friday night league.
Yeah.
Because I think that gives you a big broadcast hole in the world if you do that.
I think we tried that, Hugh, as a suggestion when I was at Sky.
And nobody's going to
They weren't biting.
They weren't biting. The police didn't bite on it as well. But, I think bold thinking, because even if you go and the whole thing fizzles out, I think you're better having a go and see if it does work and try and convince
what
people.
What you do is you consult the fans and see what they want. So you have a game on a Friday night at 7:30 and they charge them a tenner. You see how many turn up. And then you have a game on a Friday night and charge them £25 and see what the crowd does. Right. And then you've got an idea.
And you'll be at the Thistle, you'll be consulting the fans quite heavily at the moment,
I think every club has to have their fans on board on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. I nearly fainted there, Robbie. Just at the devilment of him trying to throw a grenade your way that you didn't bite with. But anyway,
back.
I know you did. I am out of the office until. Anyway, it's been good talking about it. Let's hope I'm wrong. I'm willing to take an absolute caning on Thursday and Friday with the European football. I don't mind, because the one thing I would say to everyone, and they like the two guys who mentioned it to us, and I think it's something that we pride ourselves on here, is you call it as you see it. You watch the games, you analyse the players, you look at the way the games are unfolding, you analyse the level of football you're watching, the teams are coming up against, and you make a call. Sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it right, but the amount of people who've said to us, they watch the show and there's a really good balance of people who come on and offer their opinion. At least you'll get an opinion.
Well, there's no point in saying what you want to happen. If you asked me today, say, what the European games, what do you want? I says, I want the whole 3 Scottish teams to win. You want the whole thing to be Scottish football through their victories, momentum, European football post-Christmas, which is great for our trade, which is great for the game in Scotland. But that's not the question you're asking. The question you're asking is, who do you think will win? That's a completely different question.
And I'm going to leave you with this thought, because sometimes I think people are always trying to tell you, Ruffy, as we've been on an unbelievable roller coaster ride on this show for a long time in its various areas of television, radio, you name it, and we're still alive, amazingly, is we take criticism and praise and treat it with the same contempt, Hugh, because Marlon says, I can't lie to you. It's been a rotten show today. Marlon, he says you need to up your game. And Marlon and I am happy with that line, because just you can't rest on your laurels. I mean, Marlon has put a smiley face on it, and I have actually changed it a wee bit. I took a couple of words out, Ruffy, but nevertheless, you've got to take it in the chin. You've got to up your game.
No, Barry, I keep saying that here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope Marlon and a few others are absolutely battering me on Thursday, because Celtic and Rangers have produced great results, and then on Friday I'm willing to take it in the chin once more if Hearts can come up with a result against Riga. Here's hoping. Anyway, do join us tomorrow on the programme. Of course, Ruffy, myself, Tam McManus, Ian Ferguson, the former Rangers, Dundee United, Motherwell and Hearts player, will be with us on Thursday to look ahead to Hearts and obviously reflect on one of his old clubs, Rangers, and what they're doing against Napoli. So lots of football ahead. Don't forget to enter that competition. We'll announce the winner of the Wim Jansen book tomorrow. And coming up, I can tell you as well, we'll be giving away some Rangers memorabilia that I think you might want to get your hands on too. There's lots of different prizes for football fans. Hit the subscribe button if you can. Tell your friends we're on. There's lots of people joining the football family. Great to have Hugh with us and Ruffy. And from myself, Peter Martin, thank you to you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.